Involved in firing and shelling our military personnel. They were endangering their life. They should be held responsible for those crimes that they have committed.
So the Kremlin's addressing the status of two American veterans captured in eastern Ukraine while fighting Putin's army. Former Secretary of State, Fox News contributor Mike Pompeo with us now. And sir, good morning to you. They have issued death sentences for other nationals, some from England, some from others. And now they've got two Americans. Does this administration have any sway in convincing Putin to keep them alive?
Well, good morning, Bill. Good morning, Dana. Boy, this is heartbreaking. This is why leadership matters. You know, we find ourselves in this terrible place. The Ukrainians find themselves in this terrible place because the United States lost deterrence. It lost the capacity for the president and the Secretary of State to talk with their Russian counterparts and make clear there would be real costs for doing things that Americans cared about and protecting American interests. And these death sentences on these two Americans, these two folks who served in the United States military, are just another example of the incapacity of this administration to do that. We, of course, have leverage. We, of course, have tools that we can use, Bill. Not convinced that this administration is prepared to use them in a serious way to restore the deterrence that would prevent them from even making these statements, let alone carrying out these murders.
It seems that President Putin thinks that time is on his side. Do you think that's right?
It all depends, Dana. It depends on the response from Europe. It depends on the response from the United States. If we get it right, if we continue to support the Ukrainians' efforts to defend themselves and provide them the tools and resources they need, if the Europeans will help us get it right, doing the same thing, they've been slow and late, just like this administration was, and then we put real sanctions on it. We're only part way there so far, Dana. The ruble's still at a pretty decent level. We haven't been serious about actually cutting the Russian financial system off. If we're serious about this, if we actually use the tools we all have, then time won't be on Vladimir Putin's side. Time will be on the side of the Ukrainian people, and their sovereignty will be defended. And as we were talking about at the break, this matters an awful lot in America, to Kansas farmers, to people all across this country who are being impacted by what's going on there as well.
Yeah, certainly does. Big, broad question here. The president's going to Saudi Arabia in about a month's time, in July. In the meantime, we found out today that Russia is now the biggest exporter of oil into China. So we're going to Saudi Arabia to get them to drill more. Russia is selling its oil to Beijing, which looks like pretty much the pattern they set up back in early February when Putin and Xi said we will have no limits to our relationship.
Right. No, Bill, no limits. That was the statement. We should remember that when we think about Ukraine. We should always focus on Europe. But the central threat of our times is the Chinese Communist Party, and you see them taking advantage of what Vladimir Putin is doing. As for President Biden's trip to Saudi Arabia, the first trip should be to his own team and tell them we're going to start drilling here in America again. We're going to produce energy here at home for ourselves, not just crude oil, natural gas, all of the things that we have abundantly here. And then we ought to work with our friends and allies in the Middle East. We built out the Abraham Accords. We had deep relationships with Israel, with Saudi Arabia, with the Emirates. We know they weren't perfect on human rights, but we understood that this mattered to the American people, the ability to heat their homes or cool their homes in the summer, all the things that are being impacted now by the fact that, we said, well, we're just not going to deal with these folks. It's a tough world out there, and we ought to deal with it well. And if we do, we can convince the Russians to change their course because we'll deter them. And then we can try and split the Chinese from the Russians, something that Xi Jinping would be impacted by greatly, and something that we were working on inside our administration and had made some progress.
One last topic for you, and as a former Secretary of State, I'm sure that this makes your blood boil a bit. The United States is still rejecting more than 90% of Afghans seeking to enter the country on humanitarian grounds. This is according to a new report from USCIS. 45,000 applications since July of 2021, 5,000 settled, and 90% of those have been denied, sir.
I saw that report. That is continuing the worst policy. What happened, it's almost a year ago now, Dan, it seems like forever, because this administration won't even utter the word Afghanistan today. To deny these people the capacity to come here when we won't even really consider their applications. Many of them served alongside our soldiers, saved a lot of American lives. We should make sure we know who they are. We should vet them properly, but then we have an obligation to make sure that we get this right. We can do it. This administration has just refused. They just don't want to touch this because of the debacle, the embarrassment they made the United States just truly, they made the United States embarrassed on the world stage, and I think they just want to forget it. I hope they'll change their policy. I hope the USCIS guys and the State Department folks will implore the administration to start to get this Afghan policy in a better place. We left Americans, we left our friends. We've never done that before.
Well, in the meantime, the border is nearly open, still in the Southwest. Mike Pompeo, thank you for your time today. We will speak again.
Thank you.
Bill, Dana, thank you all.
Thank you.